What's up, everybody? So I just did a video on Cameco, the giant uranium stock. It's a Canadian company. It's the largest uranium stock in the world. And I didn't realize uranium is gone up a ton. The stock has doubled in a year. And I mean, uranium is just like at all-time high. So there's a huge correlation between the stock price and the price of uranium. Here are the largest uranium companies. Let's do just a comparison just to see how they move. It's interesting to see how some stocks they kind of move differently in the same industry. Because you would expect a commodity stock to kind of move together. I mean, not all semiconductors are going to move together. Not all, really anything except commodities should pretty much move in a pretty tight range, unless the company just does something awful. Because you can't really crush the competition when you sell a commodity. It's not like, it's kind of like selling gas. Like, you can't just double your gas prices and like provide the best services. I mean, there's really not much you can do. There's nobody's gonna just go to your gas station and pay 50% more for gas. This is not going to happen. What can you possibly offer that people will pay that much more? Gas is gas. I mean, if you sell something like specialized, hey Godskin, what's up? Like if you sell like jewelry, like yeah, you can sell it for double or triple the person next door if you design it like you're doing something special. But a commodity, it's there's no real difference. I mean, assuming you don't water down your gas, you then maybe people won't go to your gas station. But if it's unleaded, regular unleaded, it's all the same, really. It's really about convenience, right? So you can see in 5 years, they're really tight. These are the top 5 uranium stocks. Now, we didn't do the valuation yet, and they're really, really close. UEC is up almost 400% in 5 years. And then this stock, Cameco, is up the least. Snowflake, yeah, that's a popular one, right? So 300 to 400%. And then if you go 2 years, this stock is up the most in 2 years, up 62%. And then you see DNN, Denison Mines, up 23%. So I wonder why there's that much separation. In the past year, uranium is up a ton. There's this URA. Let me see what it's a uranium ETF. Let's see what the holdings are. I guess it's just a bunch of uranium stocks. Okay, right. So 22% of URA is Cameco. Sprott Physical Uranium Trusts. Next Gen. Paladin. Yeah, so it's just owning a bunch of uranium stocks. So all uranium stocks are up a lot. In the past year, UEC is up 170%. UEC is up the most. They may be doing something, maybe acquisitions or a business is different than a commodity. Like when you sell a commodity, you can't really crush your competition. But when you run a business, there's expenses, right? You might just be better running a business. So you don't maybe you don't hedge appropriately. So if the prices of the underlying commodity get too low or too high, if you're not hedging it right, you could lose a lot of money. But also expenses, payroll, things like that. Or you can make just mistakes, like you open a factory and then you don't get the proper licenses, and then you waste money on a factory that never gets kind of built and developed. So it's kind of different. Like if you look at the price of GLD gold, that's just the price of gold. You can't sell gold for more than what it's worth. But you could run a business that sells gold and make more than another person that sells gold. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So I wish there was a way to like overlay. So here's the price of Cameco in 5 years. This is the price. This is the ticker that trades in the U.S. But I just did a video. The video I did was a ticker that trades in Canada, because they report all their financials in Canadian dollars. Uranium price. So it is hard to predict the stock price for a company like this, because it's really based on the price of uranium, right? I mean, I could do all the due diligence in the world, but if uranium drops 50%, the stock will crash. There's no way around it. And if uranium goes up a lot, so you can see okay, so the top chart is Cameco the past 5 years. The bottom chart is just a spot price of uranium. I mean, you could see this is really similar, right? 2020 was kind of flat and low. Then it jumps up a little in 2021. And then it really peaks here. 2024, look at the spot price of uranium. It almost hit 110, its highest ever. And this stock went up a lot. It hit its peak. It did come down, the stock, in like March, but in April it came back up. So it's not it looks like this chart either is not updated or, but it's not going to move exactly. You could see like there are these kind of movements here where it was more like smooth in 2023. So if you invest in uranium, you could have tripled or quadrupled your investment. You could have made a lot of money in, let's see, CCJ. I like this website, Stock Split History. They did 2 stock splits, 2005 and 2006, but I like it for this chart. So if you put $10,000 into this company in 2014, so it always goes back 10 years. you would have been in a red. You would have been down 50% for like 7-8 years. But if you held out, you would have doubled your money. Not a great return, right? Only 9%. But that's assuming you put it at 10 years ago. If you invested like in 2017, 18, 19, 20, any time after the crash, if you invested any time between 2017 and 2020, because it's pretty flat at that point, then you would have had a massive return. Then you would have like quadrupled your money because the stock is up about 300-400%. Nuclear isn't really like you can't like die from touching uranium. It's not people think that, but it it could cause like it could irritate your skin possibly, and if you breathe it in, but it really touching it won't really do anything to you. Eating it would be bad, of course, but you could touch uranium, you're not going to die. People think that. They actually sell uranium. I saw it on Amazon, but let me check eBay because I like eBay better. Uranium for sale. Yeah. Is it real uranium? These just look like uranium, Vaseline, Cobra Snake, and stock. I'm looking for raw uranium, not like a design. There's green uranium chunk, art glass. I'm not looking for art. Mixed color sorted. Maybe it's on Amazon. I don't know what oh, here it is. Generic uranium ore, $86. So this is uranium. And you won't, you could touch it. You won't, nothing's going to happen. A generic uranium ore sample consists of a single rock in the safe. Yeah, the amount of radiation in the rock won't do anything. FBI on its way. We absolutely love everything about uranium ore. It's what bred the iconic atomic age. It's highly collectible. Yeah, so for $85, I don't know what you would do with it. I guess it's kind of cool to have it, but there's not much you can do with it. I guess you can show your friends. And you probably know this. It's used in the fuel for nuclear power plants and nuclear reactors. And it's used in naval ships and submarines. So the raw commodity, the raw uranium, is just like any other commodity. It's useless in its raw form. It doesn't really, you can't do anything with it. You have to kind of process it into something useful like fuel. So they do sell, Cameco sells a lot of uranium fuel. They do sell raw uranium, and then the person buying it, the company buying it, will process it into the fuel or whatever they use it for. But they sell both raw uranium and the fuel is used in reactors or nuclear power plants mainly. You needs 3 kilos? What do you mean, you needs? Is that a term or a? So yeah, it's used in naval propulsion reactors, nuclear weapons, which is kind of I think maybe you probably heard that before, and in some reactors, but it's getting more and more needed. So Cameco, I just did a video on Cameco. I'll show you the results. Oh shit! This is. What is this? What the hell? Okay. Okay. So these are all the. Let me. We'll go through their annual report. I'll just show you the chart with his. So these are all the publicly traded uranium stocks, the U.S. publicly traded stocks. Cameco is the biggest by far, 21 billion market cap. Okay, how many times am I going to mess this up? Surprising, none of them have much, except Centrus. None of them are too leveraged. They have a really low debt to equity ratio, 0.3. Debt to equity ratio is debt over equity. So for every dollar of equity, they have 30 cents of debt. They're the only company that pays a dividend. They used to pay a bigger dividend, like 3%. They dropped it. It's 0.2%. And they used to pay a quarterly dividend. Now it's annual. I'm not sure why, but they generate a lot of free cash flow, 400 million, a lot more than anyone else. Most are negative. They're bigger than all the other 8 companies combined. I think they're the only Canadian company on this list. I'm not positive, but I think these other companies are all based in the U.S. They're trading at about 5 times book value. They're at 78 PE, so they don't have a good PE ratio. They're it's pretty high. But we'll look at their financials in a little bit. Also, really high price to free cash flow. They're trading at 52 times free cash flow. So it's hard to compare because most companies have negative free cash flow, so we can't even look at their price of free cash flow. They're also trading at 11 times revenue. Once again, it's kind of like all over the place. That's a pretty high price multiple, 11 times. But you should look at within the industry, but it still doesn't give us much information within the industry. Centrus is doing the best, trading at 2 times revenue, but they're using a lot of leverage to do that. So it's kind of like a trade-off. Do you take on debt to grow your revenue? I'm invested in Sprott Uranium over Global X Uranium ETF. Kazakhstan just said they are having production problems for uranium, so should be. Yeah, Kazakhstan is the biggest country in terms of uranium. They generate more uranium than anybody else. So if they're having problems, that will open up the door for companies like this. Uranium by country. So it did. Kazakhstan is about half. What did Borat say? Borat, remember Borat? He sung like the national anthem at a baseball game. and he said like Kazakhstan. He said the country produces something, the most of something. Was it? It wasn't uranium, was it? I think it was borat. Kazakhstan, largest producer. Did he say that? That's crazy if he said that. Did borat affect Kazakhstan? What is Kazakhstan has significant fossil fuel reserves and other minerals and metals such as uranium. I don't know. I can't remember. He said, I can't remember what he said. I got to watch that again. But anyways, they produce 21. I think these are numbers are in thousands. 21 million tons of uranium. So half the world's uranium is in that country. This is as of 2021, and below is at 2018. So they update this every few years. Namibia, 12%. Country I rarely ever hear when I look at stocks. That's of course in Africa. Canada is 9%. So most of the uranium in Canada is in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, which is where Cameco is located. Australia, they have a couple of locations in Australia, this company. Uzbekistan, which is next to Kazakhstan. Russia, Niger, China, India. That's interesting. The US is really low, 0.02%. Azerbaijan? Did you mean Azerbaijan? Is that what you mean? Oh. I know Azerbaijan. So let's look at their. I mean, I'll show you the my DCF if you're curious. Azerbaijan. Oh, did you mean basin, not Bain? So I'm at, well, this is not, I'm at $45 a share. And I always say this when I do commodity videos, is that it's really just assuming the free cash flow as projected. And there's really no way to predict where uranium prices will go. Because a company like there's other uranium companies that are losing money. We saw that earlier. If the price of uranium doubles, even a company's losing money, the stock will double for those stocks too. Just that happening. Or same thing, if it goes down a lot, the price of uranium, because I know we talked the Saskatoon Basin. Is that what you mean? Saskatoon Basin? Yellow cake. That was on the Chappelle Show. Don't eat the yellow cake. When it was that skit about President Bush, he was black, President Bush. Black Bush, the first one. This was the best show. If you like sketch comedy. Black Bush. Can you hear this? Can you guys hear this? Do you not hear the sound? Yeah, I had a feeling that would happen. They kept like referencing, "Don't eat the yellow cake," and then he's eating the yellow cake. Chappelle. The yellow cake, also called uranium, is a type of uranium concentrate powder obtained from leach solutions. Okay. Okay. So great free cash flow. It's 535 million in 2023. 2024 looks like even better. Already for the first quarter of 2024, uranium prices, like the average uranium price for 2023, I think was $50. The spot price for uranium was $50. Already in the first quarter, the average is $70. The spot price. So it's going to be a great quarter for uranium stocks. Revenue is up to 2.6 billion in 2023, up 39% from 2022. They can easily cover the dividend. It's only 0.18%. Yep. Chappelle Show. I really like sketch comedy. I still watch SNL. I've watched a lot of different sketch comedy shows. There's some I didn't watch that I wish I did. I think the Tim and Eric show. I never watched that, but I heard that was good. But Chappelle was the best in terms of like he didn't have that many episodes. It was 3 seasons, I think. But in terms of quality, it was the best sketch comedy show ever. Like it was just almost a home run every single episode. But SNL, I really like SNL a lot. In Living Color was really good. I watched Tracy Ullman's show when I was younger. But there's who's that guy? Eric Andre. That's a really good show. It's a bit out there. It's really extreme. But it's good. It's really good. Like I never saw anything like the Eric Andre show. It's like the Tom Green show on steroids. Tom Green was out there too, but Eric Andre is just on another level. But Tom Green was really good. And Practical Jokers is really good. I used to be friends with Q on Practical Jokers. In elementary school, we were pretty good friends. And I didn't see him after 5th grade, so. But if you want to learn about these stocks, so in Canada, they don't have a 10K and 10Q. They have the MD&A, Management Discussion Analysis. So we'll look at their MD&A, which is like their 10K. It's the annual. So I'm going to try to see, it's really hard to value these companies by looking at the amount of uranium they plan to produce. I mean, you could apply numbers to it, but it's a bit tricky. So their big location for uranium is the Cigar Lake mine. That's one of the best locations for uranium. And that's in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, which has a lot of uranium reserves and deposits. They also own part of the MacArthur River Mine and the Key Lake Mill. I don't know if they list the percentages here, but I forgot what percentages they own. Maybe like 70% or 50%. I don't know, but we can find that out. I think they own 100% of Cigar Lake, though. So this is in southern Canada, which is it's right above Montana. What's next to Montana? North Dakota? North Dakota, is that it? So it's north of, I know it's Montana. I think North Dakota also. It borders those U.S. states. But they do have locations in U.S. Smith Ranch Highland operation, the Crow Butte operation, and then they have some fuel manufacturing here. But they acquired Westinghouse with what's that company? They own 49% of Westinghouse. And Brookfield, they own 49% of Westinghouse, and Brookfield owns 51%. So they kind of split Westinghouse, which is another kind of one of their acquisitions to grow their uranium business. In Blind River, the are making the isotope for X-ray. Oh yeah, Australia, which I don't see here, which I'm not sure why. I don't see Australia here. I thought they had 2 locations in Australia. Maybe it's another company. I don't know. So they produce 16% of all of uranium in the world. And they have a total sales commitment of over 205 million pounds of uranium. So this is the U3 if you know your what's it called, periodic table. So U is uranium, O is oxygen, and U sub 3 what's the 3 represent? That's the atomic number, right? The 3. Yeah, 3 and 8 are the atomic numbers. So we have controlling ownership of the world's largest high-grade reserves. Our Tier 1 assets are licensed, permitted, long-lived, and are proven, reliable, and have expansion capacity. So that's important. If you invest in a mining company and they're not licensed or permitted, it's worthless, because there could be like for instance, there's a ton of oil beneath the sea, beneath the ocean, like a lot of oil. No, I don't do paid videos. What are you talking about? I wish I did. I used to get paid to do a video a few times, but I don't get paid anymore. But even if they paid me, I would still present the information in the same way. I guess no matter what video I do, it seems like I'm marketing the stock, because in a sense I'm talking about it. Which tattoo chef. There are people now, a few people who subscribe to my YouTube channel, to not subscribe, but are members, and they pay $19.99 a month, and they could pick a video each month, and I'll make a video for them. But it's the same thing whether a company pays me. I used to get paid $500 to do a video for a company. Almost every time it was a really, really small cap Canadian company. A lot of like mining companies, but I don't get paid anymore. They kind of cut that off, unfortunately. Because when I did get the $500, it was only like once or twice a month, but that was how much I made from YouTube for the whole month. So I could spend like it's like 4 hours of video. So it's like 100 hours a month. I would spend 100 hours to get $500, $5 an hour. Or I would get one video, $500. It was nice. We have controlling ownership of the world's largest high-grade reserves. Oh, and the way they calculated the $500, it was 50 cents per view. And at the time, my average view per video was 1,000. So I get $500. Could you imagine the people who had like 10,000 views per video? And there's a lot. They get $5,000. And there's some people 100,000 views a video, 50 grand. That would be great. Some lesser known miners in the uranium space: GSC Solutions, GVP. Yeah, there's a ton of junior miners. I used to have this like blurb I would say about junior miners, because I don't like to say things and assume you know exactly what I'm talking about. Some do know, but if you don't mind me asking, what is your day job? Well, I used to, for a long time, well, after college, I worked in New York City. I was like a bond trader. I worked on Wall Street for 13 years. And then I started my own business. So for 10 years, I ran a math tutoring center. It was a franchise called Mathnasium. You might have heard of it. So kids would come in after school and practice math. So I would like manage the center. That was great. That was really fun. And somebody wanted to buy my center. And it was right after COVID. And it was less fun because I made half the amount of money once COVID hit. And I was working more. So it wasn't as fun anymore. But it got a little better about a year after COVID. But they were really interested in buying it. So they offered me a good price, and I sold it at the end of 2021. And I invested most of that money into Meta. I wish I didn't sell it, actually, because I do miss it. It was fun. It was very rewarding. Now I just kind of do consulting for different companies. I like manage their books and do like help them with forecasting and things like that. It sucks. So accounting stuff. And I was never in accounting before. The only reason on my resume, I just had a link to one of my videos. The video that I don't know if you saw it. It's called Connecting the Income Statement, Balance Sheet, and Statement of Cash Flows. It's part 4 of that series. So I just put that on my resume to show that I knew accounting. But I never worked in accounting before. Okay. So this is a little blurb I wrote when I used to do videos on junior miners to explain the difference. Okay, so there are 2 types of mining companies, junior and senior. The junior miner is called the exploration company. So its sole purpose, it IPOs, so it raises money, maybe a few $100 million, and then it uses that money to try to find a commodity of some sort, like gold, copper, whatever the company's in. So it does all the work to try to identify whether a location has that commodity. So it conducts feasibility studies and all these other things that they do just to identify. Like, it doesn't even get like getting permits and getting licenses, like, is after they actually can prove a location actually has enough commodity to start the process of breaking the rock or pulling it from the ground. So once they complete the exploration process, once they identify there's actually, let's just pretend it's a gold company, so I don't have to keep. So once they identify there's like X amount of gold at this location, and then they try to figure out how much it would cost to extract the metal, because it's different in every place. Like, if there's like a location with 1 million pounds of gold, right? and it's that location is within like a half hour from a town with like supermarkets, a town with like, people. It's a lot easier to it's a lot easier to get to that mine if it's a half hour from like society, because then you can, when you employ people, when you pay people, they can just drive from that town. If they live in that town, it would be easy, or get to that town and just drive to the mine. But if it's like in the middle of nowhere, which some mines are, like you can't even get to it if you drive. You'd have to like take a plane somewhere and then drive through like not even roads for hours to get to it. It's very expensive, right? Just to get the people there. And then what happens when you get there? You might need water. You might need food. You might need electricity. These are all things you have to consider. And if it's in the middle of nowhere, it's expensive to do that. And you might run out of water or food. And then how do you get water or food? You got to take a plane somewhere to get it. But if you're within like an hour of a place that has, people living and things like that. So it's a thing you don't realize until you do it, until you're part of the process. But if you're investing in mining companies, it's definitely something you want to think about. Where do you think silver is going? Yeah, silver. Yeah, it's been. I got my first haircut yesterday in 4 years. Well, first time I paid for a haircut in 4 years. Because once COVID hit, I couldn't get a haircut, so I just started shaving it myself. So once they complete the exploration process and they identify the cost to extract the metal, assuming the cost to extract it is less than the amount they can sell it for, then they usually just sell the rights to the location to a senior miner, to a more established company that has the resources to pull the commodity, the gold, from the ground. Because even if you identify a location, like you might not have $50 million to invest to actually pull it from the ground and do all that work. And you have to get the approval, permitting, insurance, you have to buy a lot of machinery. So it's much riskier investing in a junior miner, because most of the time they just go out of business. They go bankrupt. They never really amount to anything. It's a huge risk. But if they are successful, the junior miner, then you could make an amazing return. There are some channels, I think, that focus on stuff like this. I know it, but I don't know it. Like, I think some people really can look at a junior miner and figure out if they're going to be successful. So yeah, the best way to find a quality junior miner is to learn about the projects that they have in the pipeline and the grade of metal in those projects, how many tons of it are available, and where it's located. Because like I said, there's a lot of oil beneath the sea, but no one pulls it because it's just so expensive to extract it. If you could sell oil for $80 a barrel, but it costs you $200 a barrel to pull it, what's the point of pulling it? It's like if you have a job, if you get paid $100 an hour to work 8 hours a day. Well, maybe that's not a good example. Like if there's a company that's going to pay you, say, $50 an hour, 8 hours a day, so $400 a day, that's good, right? And the alternative is to make $30. So you'd rather do the $50 one. But what if the $50 one is like a 3-hour drive? So you either eat up all your money in gas, or you have to get a hotel room for like a weekend. Like, it's just for the week. because maybe you can't afford, maybe the houses are too expensive, or maybe there's no houses. Maybe it's just in the middle of nowhere, like a mine. So like you got to take these things into account. But I'm actually starting a new job on Monday. Not this month, the following Monday. This company, it's actually right near my house, which is a big reason I'm taking it. They're looking for a controller. So it looks interesting. It's full time. So I haven't really had a full time job in a while. Okay. So yeah. So if you find a location to pull the gold, it needs to be in a safe area with little political interference. Because a lot of locations, if they're too close to civilization, you might not get approval, because there's been a lot of problems with mining companies. There's been like they've gotten people killed. They blow up things, or the tap water gets compromised from companies like this. So you might not even get approval from the town. It's kind of like those cannabis shops. Where I live, like you can't even open a cannabis shop in certain towns where I live. They would never let you. The town would never approve it, even though it's perfectly legal. It's just like if you wanted to open a strip club. It's legal, but doesn't mean you'll be allowed to open it in every town. The controller is just like it's not the CFO, but it's one step below the CFO. It's just like a glorified accountant, but it's a stepping stool to become a CFO. So it's like CFO does all the accounting duties, like usually the books of the company, financial statements, but they do some HR things like payroll. But it depends on the company. All companies are different. If it's a really big company, you might have a small role. But if it's a really small company, like I worked at smaller companies, so I kind of do everything, like the taxes, things like that. Okay, you need to be able to get, like I was saying earlier, if you find a location with a lot of gold, you need to be able to get to the location, ideally by driving. And your workers need access to water, power, etc. Because if you're in the middle of nowhere, you need power, you need electricity for the machinery. The senior miner has lots of experience, is well capitalized, and is actively mining different commodities and selling them. So senior miner might have like a market cap of 50 billion, might have 10,000 employees, dozens of locations. Okay, so the value of senior miner, you need to look at the projects it has and the amount of potential metal it can pull from those projects and gauge. The hardest part of valuing these companies is gauging the future price of the commodity. Like I said, you can run the greatest oil company in the world. You can be the best at managing a business. But if the price of oil goes down, like it did in April, it was negative, you can't make money. You can't. Because if oil companies, like if it cost you like $45 to pull a barrel of oil, say that's your average cost. You would pull like 1 million barrels, and then all the expenses to pull that, you would look at it and then do an average. So if it costs you $45 to pull a barrel of oil, you obviously can't sell for below $40. You might have to if the price gets really low, because you can't just sit on oil and never sell any. But you might have to sell at a loss, or you might sell at a small profit. But when the price of oil gets really high, like when it hits $100 or $90, then all these companies who have a lot of oil in their reserves, because companies usually keep the commodity like a reserve. Like they might have 1 million barrels or 10 million barrels of oil just in reserve, and they sell it if price goes up a lot. And so when you invest in a commodity-linked company like a miner, the company is at the mercy of the market price of the commodity, as I mentioned about 5 times already. So yes, you get a lot of info on Cameco. They do list a lot of stuff in this report. Advanced uranium projects. We use a stage gate process to evaluate our uranium projects, and we'll advance them at a pace aligned with market opportunities. I don't know what that means, a stage gate process. So you just can Google it, I guess. What is a stage? You might know it. Some people might know it. I guess this is just a standard term. I never heard of that. Okay. The stage gate process. What is, it's a project management thing. It's also called a phase gate process. A stage gate is a project management technique ideal for large organizations with projects that involve large teams, multiple departments, and numerous stakeholders. Typically, stage gates break up large projects into a series of stages with gates between them, with decision points or stages along the way. At each of these points, work is reviewed to decide whether the project is able to move to the next stage. Okay, so it's just a project management thing. Okay, our exploration program is directed at replacing mineral reserves as they are depleted by our production. Our program is focused on Canada, and we have direct interest in land covering many of the most prospective exploration areas of Athabasca Basin, of the Athabasca Basin. Athabasca. This is what I do in a lot of videos. Is it Athabasca or Athabasca? Athabasca. In northern Saskatchewan. That's where they're headquartered, in Saskatchewan. They do sell fuel as well, uranium fuel. We're an integrated uranium fuel supplier, offering refining. That's the word I didn't use before. So when you take the raw commodity, you have to refine it. It's just like a formula. Just like if you cook, you need to, and you want to make a cake, you need to put certain ingredients together, maybe in different parts, in order to get the cake to come out the way you want it. So refining is like the different recipes to make something. You know, if you want to make a chocolate cake, you have to use chocolate or maybe cocoa powder or whatever in there. If you want to make a vanilla cake, you need to use vanilla extract. So the ingredients or the refining process is different for different fuels. Like if you have raw oil, it's a different refining process to get jet fuel as it is to get gasoline for your car. There's probably some similarities, but it's different, of course. So we're an integrated uranium fuel supplier offering refining, conversion, and fuel manufacturing services. We have about 21% of the world primary conversion capacity, with total sales commitments to supply over 75 million kilos of UF6. So UF6 is the U is uranium, F6. That's just the formula for fuel, uranium fuel. What is F on the periodic table? fluorine. So F is fluorine. So uranium and fluorine 6. Do you think you'd be good to do a segment on management? Yeah, I mean, I definitely could. But it seems like anytime I try to go off topic and do different things, like it doesn't lead to many views. Like I spend so much time creating these like how-to videos, and it gets okay views, but it's like seems like the DCF videos get more views, and it's so much faster to do it because I have the process down. But yeah, I could definitely do. But what do you mean by management? You mean the management of the company, like who the managers are, the CFOs, or how to manage a company? They use laser to enrich uranium. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of things these companies do, and you can learn a lot. I'm sure they'll mention it here. Like, I'm sure if I even search, yeah. In particular, we are interested in the second largest value driver of the fuel cycle, enrichment, and have a 49% interest in global laser enrichment. GLE is the exclusive licensee of proprietary Silex laser enrichment technology. Well, anytime I search laser, it just talks about this GLE company. Okay, with extraordinary assets, a proven track record, strong ESG. So this chart, it shows, oh, okay, I guess this chart, it didn't show the whole world on this chart. It only showed, because you can't fit the whole world on this one chart. So this is only, North America and I guess Mexico. Isle and Cameco. Yeah, I have a hard time understanding management because it seems like every time you read about management, it seems like they have such a great background, and it seems like they're so good. But it's hard to figure out if they're actually good or not. Is SLE and Cameco? SLE. What does that mean? What's SLE mean? You mean GLE? Is that what you mean? The one I just did? The GLE? They acquired GLE, right? Isn't that what it said? Yeah, I think they acquired GLE or part of it. Okay, so this map shows us Europe and Oceania. Am I saying that right? Oceania? Or Eurasia? That's what's Australia called? Is it or Australia, right? But New Zealand is part of this region, this continent. Australia is a country and a continent, right? I guess like Africa too. Well, Africa's not a country though. Africa is just a continent. Australia is Australia, country or continent? I guess it's both. Australia is the only country in the world that covers an entire continent. It is one of the largest countries on Earth. Although it is rich in natural resources and has a lot of fertile land, but it's small in China, right? I thought it's smaller than the U.S. too. Largest country. I guess you were looking for stock information, not geography. Yeah, it's a continent. I know it's a continent and a country. I didn't know it was an island. I didn't. Yeah, Russia is the largest. Well, I thought China was second largest. Didn't you? I thought China was second largest country. It's. This doesn't seem right. Let's go to Wikipedia. That's the real source of. Oh, did they break up China? Is that why? Country and dependencies by area. Canada's huge. It's bigger than the US, right? Well, the thing with Canada is it's most of the country you can't live on. It's just frozen tundra. Russia is the biggest country in the world. Then Canada. Well, Canada, China, and the US are very similar in size. Russia is like double. Those three, but I thought China was the second biggest. Is it because they chopped up China into different parts? Because I know Shanghai is now. Wait, it's China. I guess so. I guess that's true. So Russia, Canada, China, US. Yeah, US is like third or fourth largest. Well, it's the fourth largest in land size. I think the third largest in population. Canada is bigger than the US, but it has like 10% of the people as the US. Like, isn't it like 30 million? 39 million? And the US is like 400 million. I guess I better get back to this. I'm losing a lot of viewers. Okay, so they do have location in Kazakhstan, which makes sense because Kazakhstan has an enormous amount of uranium. This is the Westinghouse. I'm not sure what country this is. Or this. Does anybody know? Is anybody good at geography? What country is this? It's like it's. Oh, is that the UK? That's the UK, right? Because it's not connected to Europe because it's separated by an ocean. Yeah, I think that's the UK right here. And what country is this? It's like Central Northern Europe. Westinghouse Springfields. Yeah, so that is the UK. Westinghouse Springfields is the UK. Westinghouse Vasteras. Well, that's Sweden. So that's Sweden. Okay, so UK and Sweden. Okay. And then Australia, they have two projects in Australia. So in November 2023, so pretty recently, right? They completed the acquisition of a 49% interest in Westinghouse. That's a global provider of mission-critical and specialized technologies, products, and services for light water reactors across most phases of the nuclear power structure. Brookfield Renewable owns 51%. of Westinghouse. They own 49% of GLE, which is testing a third-generation enrichment technology that, if successful, will use lasers. It would be cats with laser beams attached to their heads, right? GLE is the exclusive licensee of proprietary Silex laser enrichment technology that is in the development stage. Market overview and trends. It's just so much information. It's overload. Like, how do you reduce it to like where you can try to value it? So these are the number of reactors, nuclear reactors, that are under construction. There's 23 in China. So China is really pushing to grow their uranium market or share. 10 in Asia, so non-China, Asia but non-China, 10. India, 8. And then only 1 in the US. And I don't even see Canada on here. So there's nothing in Canada. But the uranium reactors have decreased. There was 451 in 2018. And every year it goes down. They're not adding anymore. But they're under construction. So I think, so don't worry. They're under construction. We'll get more reactors. The supply uncertainty. The most notable fact, driven by the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and more recently the coup d'etat in Niger. Supply and trade policy highlights. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust purchased about 4 million pounds of uranium in 2023, bringing total purchases since inception to over 45 million pounds. Somebody mentioned earlier they invest in Sprott. Kazatomprom announced plans to start production at a new uranium deposit, Inkai 3. I believe Canada is building. Yeah, I wonder why they didn't list Canada on this chart. Oh, Americas? Is that Canada? What's it? What's Americas? I thought Americas is US and Canada, but US is right here. So this is what you have to do if you read these reports. You go to Google, you learn about it, and you might have to do it like 10 times. Like, you might Google, like, if you read about depreciation, and you're like, what does that mean? You Google it, you read about depreciation, and then next week you read another article about depreciation, and you forget what depreciation is, and you Google it. Sometimes you do it 10 times until it clicks. What is America's? I still do it sometimes, because even sometimes I kind of know what it is, but I'm like, I'm not sure if I exactly know what it is. But the only way you'll know something is if you can explain it to like a 6-year-old. Kind of like the way I try to explain certain things on the financial statements. Like, I break it down. It took me a while to a lot of different attempts to say it. But I try to explain it where it's simplified and it makes sense. But it just takes time. Okay. Yeah, I don't understand. And sometimes, like, I don't understand half the things I read in these reports. Like, I don't understand why America's has 2 and US has 1. Like, because America's, I thought, does anybody know what America's means? I always thought America's was North America, South America, but they just use America's. And then I thought it was US and Canada, because I thought I saw that in another report where it was US Canada. So I guess it depends on the context, or on, it's different. Just like anything, I guess, in life. Like, you might use the term, I don't know what term, but we might have a different meaning for certain terms. Context, yeah, context. And it was kind of like in California. I'm from New York, so it's a pizza pie. And then anytime I said to someone, "You want to get a pie?" They thought I really meant a pie, like apple pie. They didn't. I said pizza pie, and I'm like, "But what is it? What do you call it?" And they're like, "What do you call it, pizza?" Or like, when I went to the pizzeria, I go, "Give me a plain pie." Like, what do you mean? Now I have to say a plain cheese. Or like in Buffalo, we call it soda pop. But that in New York, we never said pop. So here's the uranium volumes and price history. So this is an important chart. So you can see this thick gray line. That's the spot price. So how much uranium prices, how much it costs for a pound of uranium. So it was, and these are the prices over here. So $20. So it was really low in 2004. It did get really low in 2017, which would have been a great time to buy the stock. But it's the same thing when oil, in the beginning of, in April 2020, when oil became negative, you should have put all your money into oil stocks. But, you need extra funds, right? It hit its highest level ever. It hit 100, I think, for the first time in 2007. And then, like a lot of commodities do, it's just a decade of not much upside, just a lot of like downside. And I could show you on Cameco stock. $2004. Okay. So if you somehow bought Cameco in 2004, when uranium prices were at almost its all-time low, in 3 years, you could have went from 10 to 40. So you could have quadrupled your money in 3 years, which would have been an amazing return. Then you would have had you needed the foresight to sell it and wait about 12 to 13 years to rebuy back in. Not that you would have known that, but you see it hit its peak in 2007, which is the peak of uranium prices of Cameco stock also. And then it didn't really do much for a decade. And that was in 2017. And then it kind of like went up a little bit in 2018, 19, and 20. Yeah, from 2017 to 2021, it went up a little bit, probably like 3 to 5% a year. And this stock looks more flat from 2017 to 2021. So it didn't follow it exactly. But then from 2021, it went from under 40 to 60. And you can see how severe the growth was. But you can't look this. You should look up to 2023 because this is as of 2023. The price of uranium has went up a lot in the first quarter of 2024. This chart doesn't show 2024, but this 2024 is right here. Look how much it's grown. I mean, you could have got it for like 27 and wrote it up to 44, 45. I prefer all stocks instead of uranium. I am old enough to remember Fukushima, and it was a nightmare. That'll happen. You'll have a bad experience with something, whether it's a stock and you just don't want it. And that's fine. There's so many options out there. You don't need to. I'll be right back in 1 minute. Okay. So this is a good information. Because if you were say from 2004 to 2007, we were following we were discussing uranium stocks, and I was like, oh, look how much uranium went up. And then you were like, wow, I should have bought it. But then you wait, and after a year, it goes from 100 to say 50. So it's down 50%, and it's 2009. So you put your money into the stock. Well, you think it's a great time to buy it, and it seems like a good time. But it would have worked out, I guess. It went up a lot, so you would have got lucky. But then it came down to its lowest levels. It wasn't until 2020, like 2020, 2021, it really ran up. That's interesting. From 2009 to 2011, it really ran up. And the price I guess it did go up. It went up a little bit. It went from like 50 to 58. So the stock moved a lot more because the market is more forward thinking. So if they see in 2009, the price of uranium went down 50%. So people start buying this stock like crazy, and the price is driven way up. But then it comes back to reality. So obviously it doesn't move perfectly with uranium, but it moves pretty closely. I mean, That's fair with the Fukushima point, but it's not like dirty or forced sources of energy don't also kill. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I try not to let most things sway my opinion. Like, but I totally get it. There's nothing wrong with utility uncovered requirements. What the hell does this chart mean? See, sometimes I just don't know what certain charts are, and I wouldn't even talk about it in a video and if I didn't understand what it is. I think I have a feeling what this is. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay, so here's the 2023 revenue went up 39% from 2022. Gross profit went up a lot more. It went up over 100%. So their EPS, 83 cents. It went up almost 300%. Because it quadrupled. It went from 22, not quite quadruple, but 22 to 83. So almost 4 times, right? That's 300% growth, not 400%. Because some people make that mistake. Because if I go, if a stock went from 100 to 1,000, I go, what percent was the growth? And a lot of people would just say 1,000%, which makes sense because it went up 10x. But if it went from 100 to 200, what percentage did it go up? And I don't think anybody would say 200% because it's pretty obvious it went up 100%. It doubled. So this is 100% growth from 100 to 200. And you could even do the math. I mean, so I'll calculate the math. So if we went from 100 to 300, it's 200% growth. 100 to 1,000, 900% growth. 100 to 150, obviously 50% growth. And if it went down from 100 to 50, it's a negative 50%. I believe Cameco can produce at a profit about 21. So you think if uranium is $21, they can still produce. I don't think that's possible. We could try to figure that out, but I don't think that there's any way they could. Well, the only reason I say that is because I'll try to show you why I think that. Are you talking about gross profit or net profit or operating profit? I assume you're talking about operating. in 2021, the price was in the 30s. So it was in the high 30s to 40. So it was it probably averaged 35 in this year. It probably averaged 35. And they had a loss of 100 million. And in 2020, let's see, it was in the high 30s, in the mid to high 30s. So probably average 32. And they had a loss. In 2022, they do give the averages later in this. In 2022, it was north of 40 pretty much the whole year. So probably average 50. That was the average price for uranium by year. And the profit, they had a profit, not a big profit, only a 5% margin. It's only, so I'm thinking 45 is about the range, but just based on this, I would say 45 is the range for anyone investing in NuScale Power. I went and it dropped to 1.7. NuScale Power. They got Westinghouse in November 2023, and that's still running on a loss. I'll show you their results for Westinghouse. So they're losing money on Westinghouse. Westinghouse. Okay, so that IPO'd at 10. Oh, is this a SPAC? What? NuScale, 10. It got up to 15. It's down to 3. And you said you got it at 10. Okay, it fell to 170. Is it a SPAC? No, probably not, right? Is NuScale a SPAC? Okay, they are a SPAC. Just don't invest in SPACs. They're so risky. It's so hard to make money on a SPAC. They almost always crash. I mean, nice revenue growth from 600K to 3 million to 11 million to 23 million. But trailing 12 months, only 1.6 million. What's going on? Oh, that's a mistake. Okay, so Cameco. Yeah, they spend a lot in CapEx in 2023. A ton in CapEx. 2022, very little in CapEx. Okay. Operating cash flow, 700 million. That more than doubled from 2022. Okay. Received refund of 300 million from CRA, consisting of cash. They also get some support from the government. A lot of governments are trying to increase the amount of uranium companies generate, so they might get some tax refunds or tax benefits. Okay, in our uranium segment, they delivered 32 million pounds of uranium. They produced 15 million. So you see, they sold a lot more than they produced because they had a lot of reserves, and the price of uranium went up a lot, so they wanted to get rid of the reserves and take advantage of the higher price. Oh no, they produced 15 million in Cigar Lake, 13.5 million in MacArthur River Key Lake. Okay, I thought they only produced. Basically, the supply situation has dramatically changed. It's gone too long. It's gone to long-term arrangements for a spot price, so the commodity price is more predictable, which seems to stabilize stock price. Yeah, definitely. And in fuel, so they sell the raw commodity. They also sell fuel. Refine. I keep forgetting that word, refine, because they refine it and sell the fuel. How much will in the next 6-12 months uranium? It's kind of like when oil gets high, people buy oil stocks. You probably don't want to buy uranium stocks now. Of course, it could still go up. But it's like that. I mean, it's still, $60. It was $100 in 2007. So it's like, remember on Price is Right? Like higher, lower. So Bob Barker turns over like the four spades. So you would say higher or lower. Most people would say higher, of course. And then if he turns over the 8 of hearts, then it's more of a coin flip situation, right? Like, do you go higher or lower? I think it probably is. I don't know if that's exact middle. Some people would say higher, some people would say lower. Say you said higher, and it was higher. It was the Jack of Diamonds. And now most people would say lower, of course, because there's only the Queen, King, and Ace above it. So that's like what I say. Like you're at the Jack of Diamonds. Would you go higher? I mean, sure, you can say lower, and then Bob Barker turns over the King of Clubs, and you lose. But you're playing the odds, right? So yeah, you can go higher, but it's probably more likely to come down. Although 60, it never got above 60 except in 2007. So usually when there's a run-up of anything, it comes down because like a lot of like uranium companies are offloading all their reserves. So there's usually a pullback. I don't know when a pullback will be, whether it'll be at 80. Then there's a pullback. It'll go maybe to like 50, and then it runs up to 100. Like it usually doesn't run in a straight line, although it did in 2004. But I'm sure if we saw the monthly changes, it wouldn't be this smooth. It'll be a little more jagged. But this is probably the price at the end of each month. Or actually, this is probably the yearly price. That's why it's so smooth. But it was like that with oil. When people are saying, should I buy oil stocks? I'm like, you're at like the Queen. Do you want to go higher? What's the odds of a King or Ace coming out? I think it's getting a push from clean energy that wasn't there before. Believe it or not, people are looking at it as cleaner and more cost-effective than other options. Yeah, no, I've heard that too with uranium. it's cleaner. Okay, so here's 2021 numbers. So 1.5 to 1.9 to 2.6. And in 2021, they just barely had a gross profit. So it was like a break even in 2021. So that's probably 2021 is probably a good indicator of the break even for uranium spot prices. Here's the cost of uranium. This is US dollars on top, Canadian dollars on the bottom. So $35. So that's, I guess, the break even, $35, because they had $2 million of gross profit. All right. So 35. Well, this is 35 US dollars, 45.50. Here's their volume. So this is a good way to try to value the stock. They give you the volume estimates by year, and if you take it, the volume estimates, multiply it by the price, what you think the price of uranium will be. It's really high now. It's like 70 for the first quarter. So they're gonna have really, really good earnings for the first quarter. So it could be a good swing trade. I don't know if it's already built into price, but they're gonna really do well in the first quarter. I never heard of put that way. That's a really good way of thinking about it. What? You took it the higher lower game? Is that what you mean? Yeah, because like when oil was like $20, $30 a barrel, you were at like a 4 of spades at that point. So it could go lower, but like the good thing about like that, the bad thing about Price is Right is if you say higher, which most people would, and he turns over a 4 or a 3, the game's over. But in real life, it's not. If a 3 comes out, like meaning oil goes from 30 to 25, you don't have to sell it. You can just wait till it comes back. Oil's not coming down. Why do you say that? I mean, it's volatile. It'll move up and down. That's just how it's always been. It can't go up forever, because if it gets too high, then a lot of companies enter the space and start producing oil. There's profits to be made, and once the gap closes or starts to come down, then companies start exiting the market, or companies go bankrupt, and then there's less supply, and then the prices go up. Well, it's not going to just go in a straight line like Nvidia stock. It'll go up and down, up and down. But no commodity really goes up in a straight line. Like you see these kind of like low numbers for several years, maybe 10, 15 years, then it jumps way up. And this was 2008. I wish it went back further. Yeah, oil price chart. I wish we can find it back like 100 years. Forever up. So you see the oil in the 1860s was like $12, $13 for a barrel. Then it hit its highest point ever The U.S. Civil War drives up commodity prices. Tax on competing aluminum raises demand for oil. That was its highest ever. So it's never even, it's 160 years. It's still, it's not like a stock. A stock can go forever, theoretically, because the company keeps generating money and it becomes more valuable. But a commodity has to really go up and down, up and down. So that goes way down. And then it doesn't do much for like 75 years. And then in the 70s, it goes way up. So it didn't break through 40 from 1870. For about 100 years, it stayed sub $40 level. And then it went way up and way down and way up. Now it's coming down again. That's 2014, though. But the thing is, it's kind of like when Meta was under $100. Even though if I tell people you got to pick up Meta, but it's just like psychologically people just can't do it. Same thing when oil got so low, people just don't want to buy it. They're just scared. They're like, what if we never use oil again? What if it's only alternative green energy? So they don't buy it. Let's see, net earnings. So you see, for Westinghouse, they had a net loss of 24 million. They did have a profit in uranium and selling fuel. They lost in Westinghouse. They did have positive EBITDA in Westinghouse, though, and even higher adjusted EBITDA. What is this? Oh, that's 2023. So 2022, they had a profit in both segments. There's other uranium deposits they have that cannot be accessed within 6 months. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of, they're working on a lot of things to cost of goods sold, royalties, operating costs, 600 million. So, okay, here we go. This answered your question from earlier. So the total cost per barrel, per pound of uranium was $48 in 2022. It's up to $62 in 2023. That's for the 3 months ending. These are Canadian dollars, though. So it's like, for US dollars, it's like, so it cost them $53 to extract a barrel of uranium. Or a pound of uranium. I keep saying the wrong thing. Which is like 40 US dollars. It was lower in 2022, probably because labor costs were lower. There's also other uranium. Okay. Well, I'm getting tired now. I need to eat. And someone's coming over talking about a new business idea I have about starting my own math tutoring center. I have to build out the curriculum. Okay. Well, thanks for joining. Another long stream. Support the uranium stocks. I'll talk to you later.